Welcome to Ike Comics Draw Process. I'm Ike. I'm going to draw my comic, First Sun and Sword. It's page 36 of episode 2 today. And as always, I hope this helps you with your development as I process about my own development. And maybe you'll learn about some techniques and concepts in visual storytelling too. So, here we go. I was thinking I would pick up from last week talking about burnout and staying in a curious, creative place. And to be honest, this is the evening before the video comes out, but I'm not stressed about that. I have plenty of time to get it done. Sometimes I'm more tight on time, but it's fine today. But my challenge has been kind of what I was talking about. When I'm in a more stressed place and not in the place I need to be, I didn't feel like ready to hit record, ready to share my thoughts for the week. I think there's too many interpersonal issues I'm having, and just work, busyness, to just hit play, to just be in the right place. And it's that place I was talking about, that more creative, playful place. So I sat in a room in silence and I did a little journaling, sort of on what I might say in the video, but really just free train of thought. Really just like a journal entry. I don't keep a journal like religiously, but sometimes I like to write my thoughts down. And after doing some writing and sitting with myself for a bit, I feel capable of engaging on closer to the level I want to be on, enough that I'm ready. When I'm anxious and tense going into something I need to do, even a public speaking type thing, for me, it's a sign that I'm not in the right place. You know, like it's sort of that imposter syndrome where you don't feel you belong there. It's kind of like that. But it's because I don't know where I am. Like the anxiety is the worry of what could happen. There's an opening up of chaos, of possibilities, and you don't know what's going to happen, and if you're going to be perceived a certain way, if you're going to approach it with the right action that will get towards the goal, and if that's even the goal you want to reach. This is, anxiety. And but that another way of putting that is that I am not. I haven't figured out how I want to be in that situation. I haven't stepped into a creative place. And so taking a little time before I hit record, that helped me do that. And sometimes I have to do that before I draw a page. Sometimes I sit in front of a blank page, or I start drawing and it might take me 15 minutes before I feel like I'm in the right place. And the drawing may struggle for a bit while I'm trying to get my head straight to enter the place I need to be. That's something I do that helps me, and it's something I think about when I feel anxious or stressed in any situation. And it relates to last week's talk. So what can I say? This creative, playful place that I talk about, that I want to be in more. I noticed in my dreams, whatever scenario is playing out, they have changed over the years. there was a time that they were much more. Now, I don't know the reason. Okay, I'm not saying I do. Because, for example, higher testosterone levels could, when I was younger, that might be why my dreams were within more aggressive, narratives. I don't know. But I attribute it partly to change in myself. That my dreams were more antisocial or antagonistic, and usually had hero themes where I'm doing something to help and care for other people, but from the outside. And in that was a place where it was like I couldn't trust people, I couldn't influence people, but I could protect them. And that began to change, and I began to interact with people in my dreams in more playful or creative ways. And I was more calm, and I felt capable of influencing them, and so on. And sorry about the sound of the bugs outside. I can't really control that, and I just happen to be. The sun is starting to go down here. So my dreams had changed over time to be more playful. I could have fun. Everything wasn't life or death. But I think, lately I was noticing my dreams were just a little too serious, too procedural. It was too clear. I was operating on a fix-it level, a productivity level. In mundane interactions within the narratives of these dreams. And I noticed that. I thought, this is something else I want to change. It's a sign of where my inner headspace is. It's a sign of where I've been in a very abstract sense in life. Sometimes it feels like I've got to just take care of mundane details, like make the food, help the kids, clean up, get things going, take them to school, whatever it is. And I can feel, bored. I can feel just busy with things that don't really matter. Working towards, even if I'm, trying to be productive, I'm just working towards pretty mundane goals. They're not very exciting or engaging or meaningful in a bigger sense. But that's like perspective. That's just how I'm engaging. So I'm trying to shift that in myself, and it relates to the art. I'm trying to, relax in my art and approach it to have more fun and be more expressive with what I'm doing. And have more fun with the reader, even. That what I choose to show and draw is, for example, when I get burdened with, when I get, caught up in the mundane goals of completing panels and pages and inking and so on, and figure drawing, then it's almost like you forget that this is meant to be read, that this is supposed to be a form of communication to someone. And how should that communication be? Is it simply a database of facts that I'm trying to lay out for someone? Or am I trying to be playful? And you could say trying to be entertaining, but I'd like to go into, what inner state is that, which is playful. And so I'm trying to get in that space in my dreams, in my waking life, with my kids and everything, and with the comics. And it's going to be reflected in the work. To me, it's becoming more and more clear how everything's connected. Like when it comes to how I do my comics, there's a reason that each artist, their art looks different, or they approach laying out panels and choosing their shots differently. It's not just because of our idiosyncrasies of like how we learned. You know, it's about our personalities. It's about how we see the world, how we approach things. It is all connected. And so I want to continue to change my style, okay? Change the way I communicate, what I'm doing. I want to change it over time. I don't simply want to get more refined, get more accurate with my anatomy and perspective and in inking techniques. I don't simply want to get more refined with it. I want to watch things change and evolve and be done differently than they used to be done. That is far more exciting. That is getting on the cutting edge of your development. And that is where fun is, and that is where excitement is, and reward, motivation, dopamine. And that's what we're here to do, in my opinion, with life. And so that's where I want to be. And yeah, I see it happening with the art. There's changes happening, and it's not simply because I changed tools. There's changes in my relationships, my parenting, and so on. Yeah. And then again, this is just drawing a silly book, you know? I usually don't entertain that. I don't really go there very much, where I think maybe what I'm doing has no value. I think I've processed that, and it's not something I worry about too much. But yes, I'm aware that I talk so seriously about something as dumb as doodling pages of story art, you know, comic books. Yeah, like I was just saying, it's life. I think, art, any art form and discipline that someone can commit themselves to is very enlightening of the human condition and so on. Whether it's martial arts or dance or whatever. And I think everything, you know, should be done that way. That's my goal. Everything I do should be done from that spirit, you know, from that in that manner, as an art, as a dance, and so on. And I have mediocre talent. I'm mediocre in so many ways, maybe every way. But if I have a genius, to me, it would be that. The genius of seeing through things, like seeing how things can be done differently. You know, how you could not just take it at its surface value of like, this is how something's done, now I've got the facts, I can do it, but I can see how that person is experiencing their body and their art, and like what that might be like to do that, and how that would, you know, when I engage in something I'm learning, like a training for counseling stuff, I'm not just listening like, okay, here's the steps, here's the procedures, here's the facts. I'm listening to the spirit of it. How does this approach people and reality and interaction, and how could this be done? How could this be adapted? Or like what would the next iteration of this look like? That might be a good way of putting it. when I look at something, I don't just look at it, but I'm thinking, what could the next iteration of it look like as it evolves? What is this the seed of? Because that's what's exciting to me is seeing what's coming next. And that allows for, what looks like creative answers, creative responses to information that you're presented with. And it looks like, on the flip side, it looks like never becoming proficient. Like, I remember like in jujitsu, like I couldn't approach it to like just memorize each move I needed to know. Like I would have felt lost if I had to teach a class on it. But I was paying attention to the spirit of things, and it allowed me to be pretty effective, pretty quickly, and learn quickly, but in a sort of somatic sensory way, like just by feel, I could be like it, And then eventually I can become a master at things, but it's like I skip proficiency, and I just, I'm trying to think of another example, like, I don't know, watching an athlete, but not seeing how they do it, how they approach it, and then trying to approach it their way of approaching it, but without any skill at doing so. You don't have the skills yet, but I'm not fascinated by the skills. I'm fascinated by the how, or the what it looks like. So, and what it could be, and how one thing might fit with another, how that could create something new. And so it's I might create unique solutions to things or something. But eventually down that road, you learn. That's how we all learned our language. For me, English, but that's how you learned it growing up. Is you just started speaking it and you mimicked your parents. You didn't have to learn it, and you eventually become a master. There's still a place for learning, obviously. I'm a big proponent of education, but I'm just describing how I approach it. I would be bored out of my mind to just learn something, to learn it, if I didn't approach it with this kind of creative way of looking at it. And that can get me into trouble. Like it means that I speak before I know what I'm talking about a lot of times, and I have an opinion before I know the facts. That's all right though. This 3 panels here, it's a pretty nice progression of these sort of I don't know, it's not really a shot reverse shot, but it's a nice progression. So you'll see that sword, his position, his head grows across the panels from 1, 2, 3. In the last panel, it's the largest. The word balloons cascade, they kind of form kind of this curve, this S, going down to the bottom. Sometimes I like to put that word balloon at the bottom of the last panel, because your eye is going to go from that panel down to the next row of panels. So I can bring your eye down into the word balloon, and then let your eye continue down to the next panel. So it seems natural to do that. And sometimes I do that with art, to guide the eye with the art. But obviously, Sun is looking tense, and he's looking at the soldiers who are approaching them. He looks quite, terrified here, and he's tense. His fist is clenched. His shoulders are up. His jaw is kind of in a weird spot. And Sword is trying to get his attention and give him advice, speak to him before what happens. But at first, Sun is looking at them, which allows us to see his face, and then he turns his head. So this kind of static shot that just kind of trucks in or zooms in each time goes from being kind of a two-person shot to an over-the-shoulder of Sun. You'll see that I'm getting a little more confident with the inking with this pen and how I adapt it to using the brush to fill in blacks later. There are spots that I've left completely white, like I haven't put any lines on because I know I'm going to put them solid black, but I've left some feathering, some hatching lines along the edges of it, leaving the open space. Instead of doing any lines in that now, I know that I'm going to do that with the brush pen. So a little more confidence with that. And I'm really embracing the hatching at this point. Rarely cross hatching, but the parallel line hatching there. And something that another way of putting this is I am with all these extra lines and hatching, I am indicating form to objects and helping separate foreground and background, but even just form to different body parts. But I'm trying to also do that with keeping in mind lighting. I used to much more exclusively be operating based on lighting, but with this more cartooning approach that I have now, that's kind of just, it's less planned out. I'm constructing the blacks piece by piece now. And so sometimes I'm just, and I'm kind of cartooning without much pencil underneath. So sometimes I'm just applying shadows to help create form and depth. And if I do that, only do that, then there's no lighting. There's no realistic lighting. So trying to do both. And this is a fun panel. Definitely trying to get some depth. The subject is kind of clear. You've got this guy here, his face, he's going to stand out the most out of all the guys here. He's going to have the 3/4 view of his face instead of just a side view. Good size head on the panel. You can see his expression. You're going to connect with this guy the most, and he's at the top of the panel. But the story is not just him, because I have made sure that the spearheads are really the dominant feature. So by having a lot of depth on the Z-axis, you could say, and having the camera really close to a spearhead, like showing the row of spears all pointing in the same direction at them, and having one in the foreground that is a dominant object. That lets the sort of story show the threat of these sharp spear objects. It lets that be communicated. So the story of this panel is not about this guy and his face. It's the threat. And this is like, if this was I like to compare it to written words sometimes. If this was written, there's so many ways you could approach telling this story of this piece of the story, this information. And it's no different when you're drawing it. When you're drawing it, there's different ways to approach the relaying of the information in a visual manner instead of with the structure of your paragraphs. And but sometimes a very straightforward dominant message is good. Like, I do find that beginners tend to, the more beginner you are, the less you're capable of really strong statements. So, a really strong statement with this panel would have been huge spearheads and only spearheads, like that could have been like a much stronger singular message. And so if you're more beginner or less expert, you're probably not having a strong enough message. At the same time, I really like to have several messages in one panel and try to balance them well. Like I was just saying, the guy, the one soldier that's about to engage in a one-on-one fight with sword, I have him, he's important. He's included in the story of that panel and not just spearheads, not just the abstract threat. And there's sort of a balance between those elements instead of going all in with one. I still continue to struggle with his left foot being the injured one. It's killing me. So I think I kind of drew a wrap on his right foot, but it needs to be his left. And so I'll fix that just with color. I'm just going to kind of leave it. I'll color in the bandage on his left foot. And as I drew the next page, I drew it on the wrong foot, and then had to fix it. It wasn't a huge deal. It didn't affect the story. It was a minor fix before I inked it. But it's really annoying that I keep doing that. I think I might need, like a Post-it note on my desk. It's his left foot. Because I just get in the flow and forget. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the story from here on out is a lot of action. It's going to be fun to see what I can do. Just how much I can let loose and let action be really explosive sometimes, and make sure it has a lot of emotional punch. And get creative with my panel compositions and camera angles and stuff. Like, I think this is going to help me loosen up. Sometimes this is going to have a lot of backgrounds, a lot of characters, figures to draw. It wouldn't be too hard to get bogged down by those details and burdened by it and not enjoying it, not being creative with it. So I got to make sure I don't go there, that I stay in a place that is able to enjoy what an opportunity this is. An opportunity for growth and for playfulness and creativity. So I thank the universe for this opportunity, and I'm gonna play with it and check in with myself and make sure I stay in that place as I do it, because it's not going to be fast. I only draw one page a week, and we have, I don't even know, like there might be 50 pages of nonstop action at this point before the book ends, which is going to be wild. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's cool. A lot of comics don't do that. They don't maintain that much action. There's going to be little pauses in it. I'll try to have like up and down some, dynamics with it. But it's going to be very much a physical action-based kind of story at this point. And that'll be really neat. I'm definitely intimidated about Kurok, the man-eater, the lizard that they're going to be fighting. I'm just not sure how to draw that, or even how the fight would work. This lizard man looks so strong that I don't know how they could do any damage and how they could handle a blow from him. It looks like one swipe of his claws would just, one body slam would just kill a person. And it looks like it'd be hard to cut him deep enough, to really do damage. But, well, we'll just see how I handle it, It's kind of like the problem, like, it's nice when you have like Wolverine or Superman, characters you can really beat up and they're gonna, you can just let a lot of damage happen. And I don't have that. I don't have that freedom. My people are very fragile human beings here. So I can, it's got to be somewhat believable. You can definitely be like a little over the top. Obviously, everything is, but yeah, I've got to figure that out. And I've got ideas on how to create, things that help them survive that won't depend on literally, defeating the lizard man. And this will be a recurring villain. They're not going to kill him off. He'll be recurring, a recurring threat. You could think of it like the ring wraiths. This is the dark force that is pure evil that just pursues them or something, but the hunter that pursues them and could come back at any time. This kind of vibe, and not the ultimate villain, not the mastermind. So, yeah, he'll need to survive, but then it's like, well, how would they get away then if they don't kill him? Because he's pretty unstoppable. So that'll be fun. A fun challenge. And of course, don't forget, we still have the men that were running down the hill, and Farah and Pompado and his gang. They are trying to intercept Farah at the black market, which they happen to be getting close to anyways. They just happened to go downhill towards it. So a lot of intersecting things there. You'll see how the brush pen is so easy to use. It just runs out the tip very easily, and I'm applying it, and it really adds depth. It really helps finalize that. I realized that sword looked a little small. My perspective is not great, and so in this panel, and so the soldier in front of sword looks rather large compared to him. So I went ahead and moved his, made him a little bigger, made new lines to make him a little bigger, and then white out on the old lines. Just, it's a simple, silly little change I made, but it was just to try to help it be a little more realistic. These guys are going to be, pretty tall, slender soldiers. And you'll see with the dialogue here, that was a real quick glance at it, but really trying with the dialogue. And you'll be able to read it on cleverkaiju.com or my website, ikecomics.com, and take your time reading the dialogue and seeing how I did that. But it's definitely intentional, trying to pack a punch with it and kind of use repetition. We're getting back to keep your eyes up, which had shown up in this comic earlier. And then we'll see how Sun handles this advice if Sun musters the courage to engage. So that's another problem, is Sun is insanely strong. So how do I not just have him kick butt? Too much butt. But he's a child. He is not going to know where to hit people. He could freeze and panic. And that is what's going to keep his power in check in the story. But it'll be interesting to see how he overcomes that and does some good. So that's it for this week. We'll be doing page 37 next week. I finished it this week. I finished that page, but the video will come out next Sunday. But I really like that one, so I'm looking forward to sharing it. And it's on it's butted up against this page in the book. So the two together, I think, tell a really nice story in that 2-page spread. So I'll talk about that, how they work together next time.